We're gonna start here a couple minutes late. Appreciate everyone being here. And this is our July meeting. And, the year feels like it's moving fast. It doesn't when you're quarantined, but it does, looking back, feels like March 1st, when we started this, was quite a long time. And so glad to have you all here tonight. For those of you who are able to be here and we can maintain our social distance. We have our mask on. Hopefully folks can hear us with our new sound system as well. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. As I welcome our guests and ask Mr. I'll ask Mr. Hinkle to give us our invitation, and then we will say our pledge of allegiance. Mr. Hinkle.
Our heads for a minute, please. Lord, we ask for your countenance and guidance at tonight's meeting, that we may be led to make the right decisions in the best interests of our citizens of our town. We ask your humble countenance and blessings upon those who are victims of the COVID-19 and other illnesses that are prevalent in our nation. And we ask you to be with us in our current strife in this country of uncertainty right now with several social issues. We ask for your guidance and blessings be upon us to reach the right decisions and to once again come together as a nation, united and not divided. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll be doing a lot of talking. I'm going to take my mask off briefly for 6 feet. And as a speaker, I'll take the liberty at this point. Council, you have your agenda in front of you. Are there any amendments to tonight's agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote to approve the agenda as presented. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion is made, received a couple of seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on our agenda is our consent items. We've got 12 sets of minutes and a facade approval for the Meadows Apartment. Council, you have had a chance to review the minutes as well as this facade request. Is there a motion to approve our consent items?
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Motion is on the floor to approve our consent items. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on our agenda is our public comments. The public is invited to address the town council with comments or concerns. This is limited to 3 minutes. And we always ask folks to adhere to policy 51, which is governing the comments from the public at town meetings. However, please note that this is a regular meeting that's still being conducted under the adopted March 30th, 2020 state of emergency ordinance resulting from the issue of Governor's Executive Order 121, stay at home, and therefore at this time public comments are to be received by mail, email, live stream, chat, or no more than 350 words. I would ask our clerk if there are any comments that have been received.
I received two today.
If you don't mind, please read those.
The first one is from Arch Morgan. He is a resident of Barium Seasons Development, and he stated, last fall, I spoke before the council referenced the unfortunate outcome of the paving project within our development. At that time, the council said they would revisit the matter in the spring 2020. I would like to commend the council for keeping their word and hopefully moving this project forward. Your efforts are appreciated. The second one is from Jan Huffman. And she stated, I would like to thank Jim Freeman for serving as interim town manager. No one knew when he was hired as interim that we would be dealing with COVID-19 or that council would take an extended amount of time to hire a qualified manager. I would like to commend Jim for all his efforts in sorting out issues that were pending when he was hired. When will council update, then she had a question, I'm sorry. When will council update the Parks and Recreation 2020 master plan? Any planning should take into consideration our proximity to the Iredell Recreation Center and the county's updated recreation master plan. Council should consider who is using our recreation facilities and should we spend Troutman's dollars on facilities that will be used primarily by individuals who do not live in Troutman. Our last comment was, I look forward to meeting our new town manager.
Thank you for those comments. Mr. Morgan and Ms. Huffman. Council will address the issue around the Parks Rec Master Plan, maybe later in the agenda, and we'll keep that item for discussion. The next item is our oath of office for our new town manager, Mr. Brian Rusbeck.
Mayor, do you want to see anybody else? I don't think.
I did not. Did anyone else want to speak in public comment? I don't think there were. Again, we're having those sent in, but thank you for that reminder. At this time, we'll do our oath of office. Mr. Rusbeck is here from the great town of Pittsburgh, and we look forward to having him here. He's got a rich history and background in town government and management. We believe we made an outstanding choice for our new town manager, and we look forward to his leadership and commitment to the town of Troutman. And we believe the citizens will see a great benefit from his leadership and time here. So with that, I'll ask him to come up and put my mask on and we'll do his oath. Do I have that at my desk? Sure. Yeah. You, Brian Rusbeck, solemnly swear that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and be faithful to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of town manager of the town of Troutman, North Carolina. So help you God.
I do.
Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome. As I said, Brian will be our new town manager. Looking forward to his leadership starting next week. He has spent some time here. Just to peruse the town and, hopefully, we'll get his, wife and family here and we'll get them acclimated as soon as they can get here. So welcome again.
Thank you. I apologize for the handshake.
No, absolutely. It's, natural, right? So, again, welcome, Brian. So the next item on our agenda is presentations. And we don't do a whole lot of these. Usually it's for a very special occasion when we do it. And tonight is one. We did not want to wait any longer, although we're still in the midst of COVID, and we think it's important to recognize the outstanding work of our citizens in our town. So tonight's recognition is to Ms. Felina Harris. The second week of March, as soon as it was announced that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our Statesville schools would not be returning and opening to normal schedules for students after spring break. Ms. Felina Harris responded immediately to a pressing need in our Troutman community. Felina, without hesitation, reacted to the need of many school-aged children and their families that do not have adequate food resources when school is not in session. This basic need is one that many of us often take for granted. In the interim of our local school system preparing and coordinating their emergent response plan and the massive needs that accompany this pandemic, both educational and nutritional, Felina and her team that she endearingly refers to as her village filled in the gaps. She began shopping, collecting donations, working with local businesses such as our local food lion, recruiting other helping hands, and together they began collaborating to support Felina's mission. She communicated the needs and her goals, and this group brought them to life. Her village followed her leadership, and they accomplished great things for many in need. And they did so without being asked and without seeking recognition. Thank you to the New Life Ministry Church for hosting this mission as the collection and distribution site. This speaks to who Felina Harris is at her core, one who believes and does so without the thought or desire for credit or accolades. Her thoughtfulness and acts of kindness are what kept many families in Troutman fed for many weeks, and this did not go unnoticed. Thank you, Felina, for collaborating a community of volunteers and businesses to work together for the common good. We appreciate your heartfelt leadership for the people of Troutman. You make our town and our community better and a great place to live. And I believe tonight she has her two sons, Andrew and Ethan, and her husband, who I went to school with, and Felina. Can you probably know more about me than should be sharing? I believe we also have some of the folks, her dad here as well, and some of the folks who helped with this project. We really do appreciate what you all have done and supported our town. It does not go unnoticed. And our staff clearly felt the need to recognize you, really not the first time. And you've been to plenty of events and supported our town, and we do appreciate it. So I want to present you with a certificate that also reads Certificate of Appreciation. The town of Troutman, Mayor, Town Council, town citizens do hereby express with great appreciation to Felina Harris for her heartfelt dedication to serving the community by collecting and distributing food to those in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I signed this day, July. Raina, would you like to say a word?
Just really quick, I just wanted to thank Amanda for all the work that she did as well. Amanda is with New Life Missionary Baptist Church. She was there letting us in every time she went shopping. She delivered food. She helped us out so much. And Marzetta, I can't pronounce her last name, and Teresa McConaughey. I just had to mention those three people's names because they helped a whole lot. I was born and raised here in Troutman. That's my dad, as he said, and I love my town, and I just wanted to see my people fed. So thank you all for this.
Thank you.
What is Amanda's last name?
Johnson.
Johnson, okay, thank you.
Thank you. One thing I did feel to do was to ask Mr. Bruceback to, if he wants to give comment, we can do it tonight, or we can do it at your first official meeting.
Let's go with the first official meeting.
Awesome, great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I didn't want to miss that opportunity, so. Our next report, the next item on our agenda is understanding a report from our ABC board, and I believe Mr. Gutzinger just walked in here. Tell how sharp the hair is at this point. Mr. Gutzinger.
Good evening, Mayor Young and council members and staff. I guess there's no guest here, but anyway, on behalf of the company ABC board and General Manager Evelyn Walls, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to give you the end of the fourth quarter and the end of our fiscal year 2019 and 2020 report. As we all know, the end of the third quarter got hijacked by the COVID virus, and while it has spread disaster throughout the world, and to include Iredell County and Troutman, it also created an unusual set of circumstances for the ABC business. Something that none of us were prepared for, but nonetheless tried to accommodate as best we could, and that was an exceptionally high increase in the amount of walk-in traffic that we started experiencing. That coupled with the governor's shutting down restaurants and bars made it even more of a demand on the ABC boards or the ABC stores to be able to accommodate people's desire to have some access to alcohol. And we, as a smaller community, we only have 3 mixed beverage accounts, one being fairly large and the other 2 being sort of small in terms of the impact they have on our bottom line. But your larger boards, some of them have 25%, 30% of their net business is mixed beverage traffic. So losing that in total really created a hit on their bottom line until they did start seeing some of the increase that came in through the walk-in traffic, but still it was not a complete making them whole scenario. And then that coupled with some of the other boards deciding to reduce their operating hours from the mandatory shutdown at 9 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock at night, reduced by their own choice the amount of revenue that they could also accommodate. We were approached by one of our neighboring boards about showing unity with Mecklenburg County to shut down at 7 o'clock. And we thought about that for just a few minutes and realized that we have quite a bit of our traffic comes from shift work, from the hospital, and from some of the factories in the local area. And they don't get off until 7 o'clock. So we would be denying them access by voluntary act of unification with somebody that we have not been approached by themselves to show that cooperative spirit. We were asked to be here, and we promised that we'd be open every hour that the state would allow for us to be open. That is from 9 in the morning till 9 at night, 6 days a week, except for 5 holidays a year. So that's been our mantra. We feel like we're here to serve the community, and so we made that choice. And as it turns out, we measured about 5 weeks into the virus, and close to 25% of our business is taking place during the weekday between 7 and 9 in the evening. So I don't know how much of that may be business that's coming from other boards that were shutting down earlier. But we also evaluated the fact that we can only have 20 people in the store at a given time, and that's based on the matrix that was sent out by the ABC Commission. And if you reduce the amount of hours, I apologize for playing with this mess, but it keeps sliding down. If you reduce the amount of hours you're open, especially in the evening time, it creates more of a mad dash, people trying to get there before you close. So you got more people in the store than you would normally have. So it increased what we thought was the potential for people to violate that social distancing distance that we had been asked, and we have certainly been honoring of 6 feet. So if any of you have gotten feedback regarding the fact that we chose to stay open till 9, that is the reason behind that. I know it generated a little bit of conversation in other parts of the county, but we felt like our first set of responsibilities were to this community, the people, you all appointed us to be here, and we felt like we had that, we were duty bound to honor that. From the earliest stages of the virus, once we became aware of the things that we should be doing in order to minimize the potential for contamination, both for our employees and for our customers, we were one of the first in the community to get the plexiglass shields installed at the cash registers. We did get the footprint markings within the store to show the 6-foot distancing, and also traffic flow in the store. We had rubber gloves for our disposable rubber gloves for our employees to be able to put on after each encounter with a customer. We had the face shields, the disposable face masks for all of our employees. Then when it came out that it was mandatory that everyone had to have a mask that came into a retail environment, we offered to those people who refused or did not have a mask, we offered to meet them at the door and to make the purchase for them and to bring it back outside the door to give to them so that they could still get what they came to get without violating what the governor had asked that we all honor. I will say that the large majority of our clientele embraced this with great zeal, so there was not much of a pushback there, but those that did push back did so with equal zeal and also a lot of vulgarity and threatening comments, and we had to deal with each one of those on a case-by-case basis. I think we did involve the police on one case. We did have one lady decided to take over the policing there in the store, and we did have to get the police up there for that. And so we don't like to have police cars in our parking lot when we're open, just because it sends a signal to the community that something ain't right at the ABC store. But in this case, it didn't seem to slow down business any. And the other thing I failed to mention was that we have been wiping down the contact surfaces after each encounter when we have a customer come into the store, and also a continual wipe down of railings and things like that, so that, that people we do. Thus far, we've been blessed in that we have not had any employees get sick, and I'm not aware of anyone that has gotten sick that would have been a customer of ours. So I don't know that there's a way to measure that from a customer's perspective. But we also, a lot of our employees are retirees, to include myself. And so those of us who are up in that upper age range, we did honor their desire if they wanted to not to work until the virus had been, we thought, under control. And in some cases, there were medical conditions that dictated that they not work. So in each case, we have been able to accommodate that without any kind of a problem. We did hire a couple of extra people just so that we had floaters to be able to pick up in those places where there were vacancies. And thus far, we've not had any real issues with that. Some of the people that did step away for a while did have come back by their own choice, not by any reasons that we have issued. The warehouse expansion, as most of you have seen as it has taken place, is now complete with the exception of a couple of items on the punch list. We went out, we were out already with the RFP in the marketplace when the problems with COVID-19 were making themselves known. So we decided to go ahead and leave it out there, not knowing what the future was going to hold, and to see what kind of responses we got. We did get the requisite minimum of 3 bids on the project, and the lowest bidder was PS West, who was the original builder of the store. So we went ahead and signed the contract with them on April the 20th. A week later, they began construction, and within 2 months, they're complete. We do have the certificate of occupancy, even though, like I said, we do have a couple of punch list items that we want to get taken care of. Invite all of you to come over when you have a moment and we have masks available, to give you a tour of the new part of the store. To the new town manager, welcome, and you'd love to have you come over here and see the original part of the store and then the new part of it, so you can see what the community has to offer there. And we'd love to see you be a frequent flyer too.
Careful.
Well, it's a small community, and we all just kind of take it in stride. The bid on the contract was $209,200, and that was including sales tax. We did have a couple of additional items that we added that took the price up by $3,258, and those are things like wall outlets in the back, and we changed paint colors for back in the warehouse, which added a couple of $100, and then we had to run some drain pipe from the paved parking lot side of the store over to the other side of the building to empty into the collection box that takes it over to the detention pond behind the ball greens. So those were some items that came up after we had issued a contract that we realized that we needed to take care of. So for no more money than what we added to the contract, we went ahead and included it. And proud to say that we were able to pay cash for this project. So it came out of our savings that we have set aside by your allowance, and also statutes that establish retained working capital requirements. That clock will be reset at the end of this month when we get the next audit done, and I expect the number will come down just slightly because of the fact that the numbers you're getting ready to hear. Just as a reminder, when we started this project, We were not expected to make a profit for the first 5 years, not by our expectations, but by the North Carolina ABC Commission. They state that a new ABC board typically takes 5 years to reach a point of profitability. We, as of this next distribution that we'll be giving, we will have generated profit of $472,069 before distributions, and that's since we've opened. We've made distributions after the distributions that will be made for this quarter, $114,952 back either to the town or to the police department or the alcohol and drug education recipient, which is DACI, D-A-C-I, I think that's the Drug and Alcohol Coalition of Iredale. And then the entities that you have identified that we write a check to each quarter. So to date, that the distributions, and as you remember, we didn't really do distributions, but once or twice up until this year, and then we made a commitment last year at the end of the fiscal year that we would be making distributions at the end of each quarter as stipulated in the statutes.
How long have you been open? 2.5
We opened December 1st, 2016, so this November 30th will be 4 years. So we've got one more year to go, or a year and a piece before we really have again measured. But going into the fourth quarter, the back end of the fourth quarter, our net sales for the quarter were $720,626. And when I say net sales, that's sales minus sales tax. And that was a 73% increase over last year's fourth quarter. Our net profit for this fourth quarter was $60,646. And that is net profit, I have that written down as to whether it was before or after distributions. Let's see that there. Anyway, it's 133% over last year's fourth quarter. And again, I wish I could tell you that it was something we did, but we were just there to make the sales happen. The people were just coming through the door in flocks, and that was all driven by all the consequences of the COVID-19. Our fourth quarter operating expenses were up 10% over last year's fourth quarter, and that was primarily because we did have to add a third person to each shift during the weekdays to accommodate restocking the shelves, because so much the sales were actually during the week were equal to what we were usually doing on the weekends. So incredible demand on additional payroll. Our annual recap, we budgeted for $1,622,000 in sales, $622,000 in sales for this year. Our actual revenues were $2,142,313. That's a 32% increase over budget, and just an unbelievable number. I mean, that's a number that we didn't even have on our radar for the next 5 to 6 years. So even though we were hoping for that based on all the growth that we know is either happening, has happened, or is about to happen. We projected a profit of $103,831 when we set the budget last year, and we actually had a profit before distributions and before our audit of $215,851. That's basically 10% of what our sales were. Our projected distributions for this year, when we set budget last year, was $64,442. Our actual distributions for this year will be $80,655. And our actual profit, we projected a profit of, after distributions of $40,000, and our actual profit was $135,769. Our retained working capital was $270,000. That number is not a definite number just because we still got one check yet to cut to PS West. And until the audit has been done, we won't know exactly because there may be some things that further adjustments that the auditor does. Typically, it's not more than a few $1,000s if it is an adjustment whatsoever. We were allowed to have by statute up to $421,495 $421,495 in working capital for this year based on the calculus that they use at the end of each audit. We're still at full staffing, so we're good there. Don't see any need for additional people for the coming year. Don't have a clue if and when there will be some type of fallback in sales to some area in between what we're doing now and what we had forecasted that we'd be doing. For this year's budget, we basically budgeted 5% increase over what we had forecasted for last year. So we're looking at $1,680,000 in sales based on what the budget is. But I didn't want to budget based on what we've seen here in the last, what's going on 4 months. This month is also going to be a month that looks like it's going to be over $200,000. We have never busted $200,000 in sales until this past December. Since we've been open and since March, we have not fallen below that. We did 272,000 in May. So it's awesome. And the big thing is that we build the warehouse at a good time because we really do need the room to have enough ability to get our forklift in the building and to store enough liquor to get us between trucks every 2 weeks. That is everything I came prepared to talk to you about. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, you've heard from Mr. Gettinger. Any questions for him at this time?
I do have a request, not a question, but if possible, if you have that on your computer, could you email a copy or notes or bullet points of what you presented tonight? I'd just like to have that for my records.
Well, sure.
Especially the numbers and so forth.
Yeah.
Fine. If that's possible, if it's not, that's fine too.
No, I'd be more than happy to do that. Do all of you, would all of you like
If
that?
you don't mind, send it to Kim. Kim can distribute it out.
I'll do that.
A couple of questions, Ms. Gettinger, before you leave. In terms of inventory, did you all have any issues getting inventory during this time, or how did it work out?
We've had some problems getting inventory. We were having tequila problems more than anything else. And then Tito's became a real issue. It's interesting, when we first opened, Fireball was the #1 seller for about the first year and a half, 2 years. And then Tito's just we carried it, but it didn't move. I mean, it was very slow. And now all of a sudden it's the #1 seller, not just in our store, but across the state. And so as a result of that, I suspect across the country, there's been such a demand on that product that it's just been hard for them to stay caught up with demand. But we have had a few shortages.
You had a minor challenge getting into and out of the new extension, the new building, onto the parking lot to pick up the product. That's been resolved.
It's working.
It's working.
It's not working like we'd like it to work, but it's working, and it's working safely. It's not bad, but it's a steep incline, but it is working, and we've already put a load of liquor in on that ramp, and it worked fine. So,
Well, I knew they had the chief engineer working on it, so thank you.
Well, It's one of those things where that's part of the punch list of the things that we need to get resolved, because it's, you've got to be pretty skilled at running a forklift to be able to make it up that steep incline. We thought we had that addressed before we poured that, and to our dismay, after it had been poured and set, it was still like they had originally planned to do it, so it will get resolved. It's just a matter of some teeth gnashing.
Next question, did we actually purchase a forklift or still borrowing one?
Yes, sir. I guess, has it been over a year?
Yeah, it's been more than a year. We bought one. When Murdoch Millwright went out of business down on Byers Road, we purchased theirs.
Okay.
It's not very pretty, but it's ours.
It's the job done, I think.
Yes, sir.
The next question is, the people that you hire temp, are they permanent? Will they be permanent folks going forward?
Based on where we are right now, we would envision that, yes, sir. Now what it is everybody is part-time anyway. They work every other week, and they work 28 to 37 hours a week when they work. But because of the COVID problem, we've had to add that third person per shift, so we've been able to keep everybody gainfully active. But some of the people we did hire don't want to work that full 27 to 36 hours. I mean, 29 to 37, I think it is. Shifts, weekly shifts. So what we have is a good mix that accommodates most everybody's desires.
I think you may want to mention who's in charge of your building addition and so forth, and the hard work gets put in.
Well, this is Wes Evanston. I think everybody knows Wes, and Wes is the vice chair of the board, and we've been together since the store, but January before the store was open in the following December. But he took on the job of managing the construction of this project. He was obviously there and very involved with the building of the original store. But because I was requested to be out of the area for to be away from the COVID problems, I was not in the local area, and Wes ran the show and did a beautiful job with it. And he saw some of the challenges I faced with a certain personality. So it was.
Just want to extend, because obviously he has a very time-consuming day job, as
Yes.
the mayor does, and for him to give it this time to do that as well, it just wanted to a shout out.
You're exactly right, and thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Mr. Emerson, thank you for adding the little hobby to your time. It looks good, and so I've had a couple of folks say that the extension actually looks good. So I know there's, as you said, some punch list things you gotta get through. But
Well, unfortunately, all the stuff we have is basically on the inside. Outside really does look nice. Brick Masons did a beautiful job, and the same people did the roof, same gutters, everything matched up. And the only thing we're really lacking outside is a little bit of landscaping. Of course, grass, you don't need sowing grass right now, so we'll have to put up with that for a couple of months. But other than that, we're gonna be fine.
I would like to go on record to thank you as the chairman of the ABC board and your board and our general manager and our staff for doing an excellent job and being caring and being committed to the job you guys do for our community with making money for our fire, our parks, and our projects. Thank you very much. It doesn't go unnoticed.
Again, on behalf of the whole board and General Manager Walls and the boys, thank you.
And we greatly thank y'all, because y'all have always been right behind us for everything.
Absolutely. Your support, without your support, it wouldn't happen the way it has.
give our regards to the manager and tell her she's still doing a great job. So thank you.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I will. And she sends her regards. Thank you.
Waiting for your pen there, sir.
I think it shows, and I think I somehow managed to break this podium while I was standing here.
No, he was
And
very
if
bright.
y'all would put that on my tab, I'll just.
So with all that profit, we'll,
If y'all will take a 3-card check on the Rocky Bank, we're good to go.
yeah. Thank you, lady.
Too much detail.
Okay, next item on our agenda is new business. We've got several items here that we need to address. I think we're gonna ask our IT chief officer to, we've got George Berger, who's our planning director, on Zoom. And so the first item is a zoning request, RZ 2003. Applicant is Lynn Wilson, 2.91 acres, located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Talley and Little Street. The pin is 473-176-9610. It's a rezoning from heavy industrial HI to central business CB. I will now open this public hearing. Turn it over to Mr. Berger.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My apologies for not being around with you. I hope that my big giant head projected on the screen won't be too much of a distraction. I can certainly turn off the camera if you would like me to do that. But to get to this case, as you mentioned, Mayor, this is a rezoning request at the initiation of the town council. The original request back in January on this parcel was to rezone it to this district in order to support a senior affordable apartment project, which was pulled from the docket. However, with the concurrence of the property owner, Leonard Wilson, the request was initiated by town council to continue with the rezoning because the industrial use on the property, the original Troutman chair factory, has long since been abandoned, and the property is separated because of, at least in part, its heavy industrial zoning district, which doesn't really fit into the current status of this section of downtown. And further, the heavy industrial zoning district category is not consistent with the designation of town center that is shown in the future land use map. At the June 22nd regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board, the board recommended approval of the request for rezoning the subject parcel to central business. And staff obviously supports that recommendation. The council should approve the request for zoning to central business by adopting ordinance number 0720, along with one of the consistency statements that are in the packet.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Are there any public comments? Okay. With that, I will declare this public hearing closed. Before we move forward, council, any questions for Mr. Berger on this particular item? Okay. Therefore, this public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to adopt the statement of consistency? Or excuse me, adopt the ordinance 0720, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from heavy industrial HI to central business CB.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, to rezone to central business by adopting ordinance number 0720 for Wilson property.
Motion's on the floor to adopt the ordinance 0720. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item is to accept the motion of the adoption of the statement of consistency. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion regarding consistency of this action, that rezoning to central business is consistent with the 2035 future land use map, as it would allow town center oriented development in appropriately designated areas. It's compatible with mainly residential and office institutional zoning surrounding the subject parcel. It is reasonable and in public interest.
Motion's on the floor that this is a consistent adoption of our ordinance, to our ordinance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, the consistency statement. Any question or comment? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Mr. Gibson here. Moving on down to our next item, number 18. Is a zoning request, RZ 2004. Applicant is Mr. Travis Elliott, 0.84 acres located at 124 Northeast Way Drive. The pin is 473-196-2159. It's a rezoning from town residential RT to office and institutional OI or central business CB. I will now declare this public hearing open. Turn it over to Ms. Berger.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a similar standard rezoning request by the property owner, Travis Elliott. Excuse me. From town residential zoning district. The request was actually to central business zoning district. And there is a development project that would be an application would be made for a development project should this rezoning take place. The only difference between this project or this case and the last one is that there are two potential zoning districts in which, for which the council will make a recommendation, take action on. The first one is central business, which is what the applicant requested. And as the application is set up so that a freestanding restaurant can be placed on the subject parcel, central business will be a standard zoning district for that potential use. However, the 2019 Town of Troutman strategic plan recommended that the property on which the application would stand, or from which the application stands, is more suited for the office, institutional, and civic land uses. In fact, the entire 3 blocks between Church Street and Strong Street, where Tim Hall is located, all the way from Eastway Drive to North Avenue, is designated in the strategic plan that it would be more suitable for office and institutional and civic use rather than a more standard central business use. However, central business is absolutely appropriate as well for the area that is closer to the traditional downtown core of Troutman, where this project is, or where this property is located. Therefore, I have no firm stance one way or another, and will recommend approval for either of the 2 zoning districts at the pleasure of the council. At their June 22nd regular meeting, the Planning and Zoning Board, however, recommended approval of the request for rezoning of the subject parcel to office and institutional district on the basis that it would be consistent with the strategic plan. However, with that said, the staff would recommend that the council should approve the request for zoning of the subject parcel to either central business or to office and institutional, so that it can be consistent with the future land use plan. The only major difference between the use on that property of central business or offices and institutional is that under office and institutional zoning, a freestanding restaurant requires a special use permit from the Board of Adjustment. There is an additional step that was put in place in order to make sure that a use of a freestanding restaurant in an office and institutional district or campus, for example, would be the appropriate use wherever it happens to be located. The special use permit is not to say that a freestanding restaurant could not be placed there, so that it is not an either or a yes or no to a freestanding restaurant. It is about the use itself and the characteristics of that use on the subject property. Therefore, with that, I would recommend that the council approve ordinance number 08-20 in a consistency statement. Just so you'll be aware of it, or to remind the council, there are a number of consistency statement options available to you, depending on which zoning district the council adopts for approval. And the ordinance, although it will still be 08-20, there is a blank in there so that either of the two zoning districts will be placed there for their signature.
Thank you. Was there any public comment submitted on this issue? Anyone like to speak? Mr. Elliott.
Travis Selly, sorry, I tried. It's my first attempt, and it lasted about 3 minutes, so I apologize. It's good to see everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Troutman. On 134 is OI already zone. Of course, 124, I'm asking BCB for a restaurant. I've spoken to the Kellys who own the property, the vacant property south of me, and their plan is if it's ever sold, which they would like to do, is they won't see it. So, I'm kind of following into what we would like to be able to do there. As I spoke to the zoning planning board, they said about the extra step, and my comment was, okay, where's my guarantee at on that? Because if we make it zone at OI and then I don't get my special permit, then I've rezoned property and now I'm paying a different tax rate just to be sitting there first off. And second, I was told, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, I was going to be used as I'm going to say an example, but that's not the word that was used, to kind of, as it goes down the road of what we're looking at. And my point was, is what example do we want to set? Do we want to set an example that we don't want people that need CBs on here? Or what are we telling anybody else that wants to come to Troutman? And I'll let Jonathan explain more. I'll shut up, that's my problem. But I appreciate everybody letting me be here.
Good evening, Jonathan Carter. The property does fit central business, and like I said, it can go to office institutional, but it does have to come back through you guys again. And Mr. Elliott does not want to pay taxes on something he can't use. There's still a chance y'all come back and say, no, you can't do that. So, and 21 in the future is supposed to be split there, and we might want to get some restaurants on this side of the street. So I'm thinking that's a good plan for that. Could be on anything else. That's basically what I had was, it fits Troutman downtown, so central business, would be a central business use. The existing house, when did you buy that? Yeah, there was junk out in the yard all the time. He's really cleaned it up a lot. I drive by it every day, so I'd like to at least voice my support for it.
Thank you.
My name is Wes Edwards, and I own 135 and 133 North Main Street, which is straight across the street. I was also on planning and zoning for a number of years, and I supported it as OI for years because Eastway Drive represented a lot of older families, a lot of good family stuff. I didn't see need to disrupt it. But a lot of those folks have passed on now, especially on North Avenue. All that stuff's turned into rentals. I mean, Sally's still there, the Kennedys are still there, the Curleys are still there. There's several families still there, but nothing's ever really happened. Randy Jordan ran a real estate office for a while. I don't know if he still runs his real estate out of his house there. And Travis put in the insurance agency. That's all that's ever happened in the last 25 years as far as office and institutional through it. We got two good pieces of property. We got this property beside us here. We got the Kelly property. This big parcel that could draw something. And with the state going to put the road in, I think once there was a time we should have stayed off the institution, but I think now it's time to step forward. I mean, George talked about 2019 plan. Well, it's 2020 now, and I think it's time to go ahead and see if we can't draw some more business up here. If town, if y'all don't make some strides to try to draw some stuff in here, it's all gonna land at 42. And this is a great opportunity for us to have a steakhouse in town. I'm all excited about that. Because we hadn't, we got Pellegrino's and I can't pronounce the other place right there. It's done really well. They've done really, really well. And I hope that y'all kind of, let's work together and see if we can't get some more stuff in here. But like I said, the Kellys want to sell, the Ellisons want to sell, Central Business, maybe I'll draw some more stuff in here. I think, like I say, the time's passed on that. And with the road plan and whatnot, plus the watershed, y'all know the watershed on the other side versus this side, that might help draw some people too, because it's easier to get by the watershed rules. So.
Thank you. Okay. No other comment? Council, I would ask, do you have any comment for Ms. Elliott? No, I will now declare this public hearing closed. Council, I will now accept the motion to consider the adoption of ordinance 0820, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from town residential RT to one of the following: office, institutional, or central business. Council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I'd like to make a motion to rezone as requested to central business zoning by adopting ordinance number 08-20.
Motion is made to adopt ordinance 0820 to central business. Is there a second to that motion?
Second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is made, receive the second to adopt ordinance 0820, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from town residential to central business, CB. We've received a second. Any question or comment?
Just one thing before we go, Mr. Mayor. I forgot to point this out Monday in the agenda briefing. On the top of the page of 69, by the asterisk, where it's talking about what action the planning and zoning took on this particular rezoning RZ-20-04, it says from heavy industrial district, it should be RT. To either office and to office institution.
And I think that's how it was referred in my motion or information.
Right.
Okay, right. Any other comment or question?
And just in justification of why I recommend that as opposed to the P&Z's recommendation of O&I is that our planner referred or alluded to this during his discussion a few minutes ago. It is compatible with the adjacent residential, commercial, and office institutional zoning surrounding the subject parcel. So this is not something drastic or disruptive. It will blend in as Forrest Gump would say, carrots and beans. So, I think it'll be a long time. Central business.
Any other question or comment? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting the ordinance 0820, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now consider a motion to adopt the statement of consistency. Please read the statement, or need a motion.
I'll make that motion from a consistency standpoint that rezoning to central business, although inconsistent with the 2035 plan, is appropriate and would allow for commercial development in appropriate areas. And it is compatible with residential, commercial, and office institutional zoning around it, such as those personal. It's reasonable and it's in the public interest. I look forward to a good stay.
Motion's on the floor. I won't have the last part of that. But motion's on the floor to that the it is consistent, inconsistent with the plan, but consistent with the surrounding areas. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's on the floor, receives a second. Any other personal comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Ms. Elliott, first take is on you.
I thought you was gonna ask for a period.
That's it.
I'll get out of here for you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. The next item is 19. It is the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, text amendment TA 2003, electronic message boards. I will now open this public hearing. Go to Mr. Berger.
Thank you, Mayor. As you stated, this is a request for a text amendment to be made to the 2019 through today's current Unified Development Ordinance to put that electronic message board panels to be allowed once again on principal line and ground line signs within the zoning jurisdiction of the town. Pertinent to the Planning and Zoning Board and Council makes one formal matter to be addressed at this time, and that is to amend the UDO to accommodate panels within the existing sign regulations in Chapter 6 generally, as well as standards and requirements for signs, so that those PNB panels fit into and are consistent with the current regulations. There's also another matter that brought this text amendment to the fore, which was a request by New Life Missionary Baptist Church to have an EMB panel in their two sign, well, in their large brick sign structure. And because EMB panels were not placed into the new UDO, and were actually taken out of the new UDO when it was adopted, even though they had been in the old UDO from 2014 to 2018, the church was looking forward to using the old standards in order to be able to put a EMB panel type sign into their sign structures. So that's what brought this text amendment before you. Because EMB panels were not allowed in the current zoning ordinance and current UDO, there's no way for the zoning administrator himself to approve such a panel. And so the church appealed the decision to deny sign permit. And although that appeal was upheld by, or the zoning administrator's decision was upheld by the Board of Adjustment, the text amendment to allow EMB panels to be once again permitted under the UDO was brought to the planning board and to the town council. There are three main sections of the sign code, chapter 6, in the UDO that require amendment. And the first section is the 6.2.3 additional requirements for certain things in signs. There is 2, 3, 4, 5 subsections within that, and I understand that there is no need for me to read each and every one of those subsections. However, the first section really relates to the actual specifications and requirements under which electronic message board panels can be permitted So that gives lighting standards, includes sign standards, and those sorts of requirements that are related to the amount of signs and lighting and illumination and, excuse me, and time under which the messages can flash or can be replaced one after another. The second section is an amendment to section 6.2.4, sign illumination, and it's simply a note in the matrix regarding illumination of signs within the UDO, noting that there are additional requirements for illumination of electronic message board sign panels. So it refers the reader of the UDO to the section that's above it for what the standards are for electronic message board panels. And the third section is an amendment to section 6.5 regarding prohibited signs. This seems to be the crux of a lot of the issue. Signs that are animated or lights and illumination that flash or rotate or otherwise blink in varying intensity and color are typically prohibited under sign codes, and they are in Troutman as well under the Troutman UDO. However, in order to allow the panels back into the UDO, this subsection D of section 6.5 needed to be amended. And so it has been amended, or text has been drafted to amend that section to allow or to note that EMB panel signs are part of the principal lighting and ground mounted signs that meet, so long as they meet the provisions of the chapter itself. And so at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting on June 22nd, the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of the adoption or of the amendments with one grammatical addition in that third and final section that does help make that subsection move better. And this planning staff recommends that the council adopt the resolution or adopt the ordinance number 09-20 approving the addition of electronic message board sign panels into the sign code.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Is there any public comment on this issue? Also, you've heard from Mr. Berger, both staff recommendation and planning and zoning. I will now close this public hearing. At this time, we'll consider adoption of the ordinance 09-20 titled the ordinance amending the Town of Troutman Unified Development Ordinance. Is there a motion on this matter?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 09-20.
Motion is on the floor that we adopt ordinance 09-20, ordinance amending the Town of Troutman UDO, referring to electronic message boards. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Council, we will now consider a consistency statement. Please read your statement before with your motion.
I make a motion regarding consistency of this action, that this text amendment in whole or in part as recommended by the action of the Planning and Zoning Board is consistent with the 2018 Strategic Master Plan and the future land use map and Unified Development Ordinance, as it would permit a type of signage with specific standards so that it is compatible with land uses within the town. Further, the proposed text amendment elements are reasonable and in the public interest.
Motion on the floor.
I have the comments that, people can't hear. Can you use your mics when you speak? Speak up if you don't have a mic.
Put the mic down.
Do I need to do that again then?
Yes, please.
I make a motion regarding consistency of this action, that this text amendment in whole or in part, as recommended by the action of the Planning and Zoning Board, is consistent with the 2018 Strategic Master Plan and the future land use map and the Unified Development Ordinance, as it would permit a type of signage with specific standards so that it is compatible with land uses within the town. Further, the proposed text amendment elements are reasonable and in the public interest.
Motion is made regarding the consistency statement. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, could I add one other item, please? Or add one other action potentially if you can consider?
Yes.
As we spoke about in the agenda items on Monday, the text amendments that the council has just adopted will allow EMB signed panels to be placed into the UDO and once again, allow in the zoning jurisdiction of Troutman. However, the item related that brought this action to the fore was the New Life Missionary Baptist Church's request for an EMB sign on their property within the sign structure that the town worked with New Life to put up so that it would shield the town's sewer pump station from the traveling public. And one of the things that the New Life Missionary Baptist Church would have to do is ask for approval through a variance through the Board of Adjustment in order to work through issues related to sign structure height and the type of sign that sign structure which is shielding the pump station would allow. It is my recommendation that the fee for the Board of Adjustment application could be waived for that purpose, since it would be in the best interest of the public and since the town of Troutman contributed to the size of the sign structure when it was initially put up. The zoning administrator does not have the authority to waive such a fee. The town council does. I don't really know the procedure for agendizing such a motion and vote, but if the town council can do so, town staff will certainly support the motion.
Council, you heard from Ms. Berger regarding a fee waiver for New Life Missionary Baptist Church as a result of the sign structure, which was placed there. The church worked with the town to put that there in order to shield our what was it again? Pump station. Is there a motion to address this at this time?
I'd make a motion if we can address that issue so that they can go forward quicker.
Okay. Motion is on the floor that we waive the fee as they work with the planning and zoning, not planning and zoning, but Board of Adjustment on the structure. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a couple of seconds, and I'll let Kim pick one of them. Any other question or comment?
Just more for the public's awareness. This whole situation started with an error by the town some years ago when the church was first constructed, and so I feel it very justified that we waive the fee at this circumstance. It's, in my opinion, highly justified that we do so.
Any other comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition likewise? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Berger, for bringing that to our attention as well.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the consideration of the adoption of Resolution 0620, titled Town of Troutman Resolution of the Board 2018 Collection System Rehabilitation for Mill Village Project, number ESRP W170120. It is awarding the construction contract to Classic City Mechanical LLC. Mr. Parker, Mr. Parker.
I don't have any comments about this one, other than to say that the town engineer West Consultants recommends approval of this resolution on behalf of all the engineering work that's been going on related to this long-standing project.
Okay. Our former town councilman isn't here tonight, but I'm sure Mr. Troutman would appreciate some support for those who are on council. Council, is there such a motion to award this contract?
So make a motion, sir, that we adopt resolution 06-20, adopting the referred to Mill Village 2018 Collection System Rehabilitation Project.
Motion's on the floor that we adopt resolution 0620. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, receive the second. Any other question or comment?
I do have a question. Hopefully Todd can answer this question. I know that BG on Monday talked about the price, and then he mentioned the alternate bid for the generator from the IL pump. So are we awarding the contract for including the alternate bid?
That I am not familiar with. It would probably be stated in the recommendation if it was. If it's not in the recommendation, it's probably not.
Resolution.
He is stating, he's in the letter that Benji wrote, he recommends it.
Okay.
And I do make that a part of my motion. Yes, sir, catching that. I think it was a total of approximately 547,000, some change total, including that generator. And I do make that as part of my motion, yes.
I'll second that as part of that
Thank
motion.
you. Motion is made, receive the second, with that clarification as well. Any other comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Berger. The next item on our agenda is number 21. Is the consideration of an agreement for remote access to Iredell Central Schools District surveillance cameras. Turn it over to Chief Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a recap, this agreement would be between Iredell Central School District and the law enforcement agencies that have a school within their jurisdiction. This agreement basically just spells out the protocol that we would have to have access to recorded in a non-emergency situation where we would not violate FERPA. And also would allow us remote access for those exigent circumstances and emergency situations where the safety and the health of the students, the staff, and the property of our school system would be in jeopardy, that we'd be able to respond to those in a timely manner.
Mr. Thomas?
Chief did a great job.
Awesome. Thank you. Council, you heard from Ms. Fleming. Is there a motion to agree to this agreement?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made that we agree to the remote access to our Statesville School District surveillance cameras. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other comment or question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of street paving, Georgie, Winterflood, and Bumping, and consideration of the ball field parking lot. This time, I'll ask Ms. Williams or Mr. Now to provide us with consideration for either a motion or other consideration.
Well, during our comment section, we did receive a comment from a citizen that lives in Barium Season, because we had told him in the fall that we would look at that, and that's what we're doing now. Todd had sent cost estimates earlier in email, along with the ballpark and everything, and due to the asphalt being as cheap as it is now, and I think in the town's best interest, if we're gonna look at these three streets and the ballpark, that we need to do this as one, maybe one packet as far as bidding it out, since West Consultants will have to be preparing the bids, and that would save us money, I think, in the long run, instead of getting West Consultants to do two different big packages. And if we don't do the ballpark parking now, then the price of asphalt could go up. So I recommend that we do rebid these three streets, with the stipulation that we could possibly take any of Georgie or Rumpel Street off if needed, if they're not needed to be repaved at the time, and include our ballpark parking.
The only question I'd ask is, the ballpark, the money we put in that budget was to be kind of held back till later in the year to see where we come out this year with the COVID-19 issue and how much we're impacted with taxes, then pay it later. If we bid it now, to get that price, we'd have to do it now.
No, we don't. Is that correct, Todd?
But the price not go back up later on?
It depends on how you want to bid it. I mean, if you want to bid it with, under those conditions, and let contractors know that they would need to wait to a certain time to start the work on the park, we could do that, but
we could do that.
But then the price could be higher.
Yeah, the price may still go up on some of that,
well, they may bid the work at a higher price.
but maybe just the ballpark itself.
Yes, yeah. It's not likely that the price for the work is going to go up very much, based on the NCDOT and the projects that they put out for paving contractors to get a lot of their work. That's where the majority of their work comes from, and that has not happened at all this year. So that is one thing that has driven the price of asphalt paving down, that and the price of oil is down. So this is, you're looking at, late 1990s, early 2000 prices for asphalt at this time. It's not likely to happen again.
And something also is that it's kind of like when the Great Recession, 2007-8, people went from being very busy contractors
Yes.
to looking for work.
Right.
And right now, I imagine those people who depend heavily on the state for their business are probably looking for work as well. And not only for the price of asphalt, but also just wanting the business, to fill in until the state does regain the position of being able to let contracts that they would also, over and above the price of asphalt dropping, drop their price in total to some degree, trying to maintain business and, keep their employees hired.
Yes, they've definitely done that. And we're seeing 5, 6, 7 bidders bidding paving contracts right now, where normally we did good to get 2, maybe 3, and we're seeing more than double. turn out, and the prices on certain contracts being nearly half of what we would have estimated 6-8 months ago.
Mr. Allen's,
Todd, and we would only be paying the one bidding process to you guys for these three projects, am I correct?
That is correct. We could combine them into one. However, there's still a little work,
Right.
going into the park, which we would keep that separate. So we will work with Steve on how and Emily on how to
Right. And we could bid them out,
split that cost between the two funds, if you will.
even though they all be put together.
That's
okay,
correct.
Through you guys, we would bid them out separate, am I correct?
But we would put it out to bid in one package,
Right.
one bid package, but each
Each job would be a
portion
separate
of it
job.
will be separate.
Four
That's correct.
components.
Yeah, well, let's see, yes, we'll do it as
Three
4
streets
separate
plus the ball.
components.
So then when the bids come back, we'll have an opportunity to review each of the components
That's
and
correct.
make a decision on 1, 2, 3, or all 4.
That's correct.
However,
Or
if
a
we-
combination of any, it could be 3 and 4, or
Understood.
however, if we do cherry pick, so to speak, and we don't take all 4, that could lead to a rebid of the ones that are left that we choose to keep. Am I correct? Or you think that will hold the, whether we take it all or we split off one or more?
well, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way we've been doing this, let's select something as a base bid, whether it be Winter Lake. That would be the base bid. We could do Georgie and Massey Street as required alternate bids. We could do part of the park as a base bid, and another portion of it as an alternate bid required. So that, and then note that in the contract, in the bid documents, that the town reserves the right to withdraw any portion of the project as budget dictates.
So we'd have, again, as you say, we'd have several options to look at. And the way you would put the bids out, we would have several options that the bidder could come back, give us different pricing depending on, which option we pick at the appropriate time.
I would recommend as a courtesy to the contractors, the folks bidding the work, give them some kind of baseline of what the town's goal is to spend for each portion of this, whether it be the park or the streets, just in fairness to them. That way they can price appropriately and don't overextend, because they are struggling right now, some of them.
And I think one thing that you, at least Ben, you mentioned that you put in here was on the milling, it reduces, I guess, to the overall price by 30,000, and as well as on the street side. And so I'm assuming based on that, you would include that in the bid as optional, or do you need direction from council to include that as part of it?
It'd be better to get direction from council to move forward with that.
Okay. Council, any other questions for Tom? Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion considering the street pavings and ball field parking lot.
I'd like to make a motion that we instruct West Consultants to put out requests for bids, starting based on what Todd said a few minutes ago, that we do a base of the 3 streets, Georgie, Rumpel, Winterflake, and then do a base of, well, no, I started to say just a ballpark, but I don't think so. I'm gonna leave it, and then combine the 3 streets and the softball, baseball parking lot. If that's agreeable with council, get 2 bids. Again, 3 streets, and then the 3 streets and the ballpark, parking lot. So we have 2 bid options. And am I reading the council's, or would you want to go with, just the ballpark and not the streets? I thought, the streets were our primary goal here, and parking lot obviously is important.
I left the agenda meeting.
Yeah.
I left the agenda meeting, and drove around and looked at these streets and came here tonight expecting to deal with streets. Because at that agenda briefing discussion, the ballpark engineering was considerably far off. It had not been completed, was my understanding. Now, then a day later, we get the estimated price here. So I wasn't prepared to deal with this tonight, but I'm only one person. I was ready to go forward with the streets.
Well, then that would, what I said, if we get to two, then one, just the streets. And then the other option, the second option would be streets and the ballpark parking lot.
I would certainly be supportive of requesting that the bids go out for the streets and for ballpark. And then we come back and review those bids again for consistency and for whether or not we're capable.
Yeah, so you'll get another bite at the apple based on what the bids
So
come.
that was what I was thinking.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then that you would also note that the ballpark is going to be budgeted, depending on what happens as the rest of the year goes. If we stay as we're doing now, it will probably be ready to go. If not, that may end up having to hold off a little bit. We were still planning during the year, during this year, but we may have to wait for the payout for that.
So if I'm clear, I'm trying to get this motion to give Todd some direction. Motion is that we would allow the street committee to recommend bidding out for two separate bids. One is for the streets only, and secondly for the streets and the ballpark. And as an addendum, I guess, to the latter, it would also mention that council may decide when the ballpark would be done. I think I got that right.
Well, there's a little addition there. When I was thinking, we'd do all three streets, or we'd do, at the same time. Because I feel like if we say, we had the option of pushing it down, that may affect the price. That would be, Coach Guy could be a third option. They can come up with, we do it all as one package, three streets, all as one package. And then the third option being, all the streets and the ballpark, but the ballpark we could push down, or push back, I should say, push back somewhat.
So Todd, can you help me craft my language here? 'Cause I'm hearing three things. One is we do, number one, first bid is the three streets. The second is we do the three streets with the ballpark. The third option is we do all three streets, and the ballpark being bid, but it might be delayed in terms of implementation.
I think we can stick with, it is, but I think we can stick with just two.
Okay.
I think the second and third one are basically the same thing.
Like that would not make a difference. It were 6 months before we did two, and then it were 6 months, say, down the road before we were comfortable enough with revenue income that we said, okay, let's go ahead and pull the trigger on the ballpark. You don't think that would affect the price?
I'll communicate with some contractors and get their thoughts, but no, I do not think it would. As long as we make that clear that it could be delayed 6 months, 3 months, whatever council decides, just make that clear. And
I'm sorry, it's quite possible, due to the weather, and it gets into cooler months and they quit making the asphalt, that we have to wait till next spring on the ball field parking lot anyway.
that's true, yes. That's very likely. And I mean, the ballpark has a lot of other items that will have to go in well before the asphalt paving is done. So the delay of 6 months is likely gonna be there regardless. By the time all the grading and concrete work is done, it's gonna happen whether you want it to or not, most likely.
So it might be at the place we want to be anyhow.
That's correct, yes.
That's just the building, yeah.
With regard to, our town engineer's, suggestion, I will then offer the two options.
Okay, so motion is streets only, and second, streets in ballpark. Okay. Motion's on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's on the floor, receive the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Todd.
Guys, for just a little clarification,
Absolutely.
you're saying this, we're doing it, I'm a little confused on what we're gonna put out the bid. I was thinking you were gonna choose between one or two, but can you clarify that?
I think the request is that we put out two separate bids.
Okay, one for the street, one for the ballpark.
That's,
So streets in the ballpark.
One for streets only, and then one for streets and the ballpark on a possible delay.
that's a separate bid.
Two packets. Streets with the ballpark.
I'm missing something.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
sorry. It sounds, I understand what you're saying, but there's no reason to do both, I don't think. We're either gonna bid the streets or we're gonna bid the streets and the ballpark. And I just need direction as to which one of those two are we doing.
Can we not do two? Ask for two separate. What,
We can do two, but it's either we bid the street separate and then bid the ballpark separate.
And I think that's what we're saying.
Okay, is that what, I just want to clarify that.
No. So what we're saying is, so what we agreed to is that we have a bid.
Yep.
And that bid would go out saying this is for the streets.
Correct.
I think there's some thinking that if we do the streets combined with the ballpark, there might be some savings there.
That's correct.
And therefore, that is a package in and of itself.
The streets and the ballpark is one package,
It is one package.
and that's what you want to do, correct?
And so there's a package that would go out and say, we're putting out a bid for Winter Lake, Georgie, and Wilmington.
Correct.
That's one bid.
Yep.
And then we have another bid that says, this is for Winter Lake, Georgie, Rumpel, and the ballpark.
But we're bidding the streets twice. We can only bid that to one contractor. We can't bid it and give it to a contractor and then bid it again with the ballpark and give it to somebody else. We've got to do one or the other with the streets.
I think what Todd is saying is you would have a bid of the, I may be wrong.
Yeah.
You have a bid of the streets, and then that's the base, and the option that's an addition to that is the ballpark.
Yeah.
Same packet.
All that's in the same packet, the ballpark's just shown as an option.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. What I feel like I'm hearing is we're gonna bid the streets out right now. Let's say 2 weeks later, we're gonna bid the streets again with the ballpark. I just want to make sure I'm clear. We're gonna do the streets as a base bid.
That's the base bid. That's
Yes.
a good way
And
to say it.
have the ball field with that as an alternate.
As an alternate, yes.
and you, as you said, you would inform the contractor kind of informally that this could be pushed out 3 months on the ballpark parking lot. It could be pushed out, 3 months, 6 months. They could go and do streets immediately as soon as they could,
That's right.
whoever's awarded. But possibly we could push out the ballpark parking lot 3 months, 6 months, maybe not. Possibly, if you said you would informally pass that, so they have that in mind.
That's
Then they
correct.
do
We can put any kind of notation like that as to the council thinking as to how they would award the project with the ball fields.
Right.
We can note that in the bid documents to make it clear to each one of the bidders.
Okay, so we're good. The base bid is the streets.
Streets, and then the ball field is an alternate.
Is an alternate.
Got it.
I knew I should come here for a reason.
Sorry about that.
All right, next item on the agenda is, reports from elected officials. So, I'll open it up to council first.
I would just like to say, I appreciate the chief every time, there's a new officer, full-time or part-time, that comes, to Troutman, that she sends out an email and lets us know, when the swearing-in ceremony happens. That's, the previous chief only would present them during town council meetings. I certainly appreciate that, and was very impressed with your part-time selection of Officer Purdue.
Thank you, and I appreciate the ones that are able to attend. I know it's not always feasible with y'all's schedule, so whenever you are able to attend, I really do appreciate it. I think it shows support for our officers when town council comes out for that, so thank y'all.
And I regret I couldn't make it, the whole day job thing. Sounds good, it was coming. I did see it, wanted to try to get here, so thanks to those who did make it, and please tell them welcome from the council. Look forward to him serving our community.
I agree with what's been said. I'm sorry that I was not there, but please keep, because I have been able to make, one or two, and some I can't, but please keep them coming so that we can, we're aware of it and we can attend when we're able to. I do think it's important, to let the reserve officer know that, we do support them. We appreciate their service to the town.
Other comments from council?
Yes, Chief, I'd like to know the status of our new patrol car, possibly. What we're waiting on and
I'm glad you asked,
when we
because
can
I
get
just
in
found
service.
out a status today. The material that the decals are made out of was back ordered, and he just recently received that. And he has been extremely busy, but I communicated with him today, and he is in the process of cutting those out. They have to sit, cure, I think is the word for it. And then we are looking at no later than the 24th to start as far as the striping of that current vehicle. He hopes to get to it before then, but he said it should be no later than the 24th. And it's usually a day or two job, and it'll be ready to hit the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions or comments?
I'd just like to make a comment. Welcome our town manager. I'm glad we'll be seeing you on the job for next week. And hopefully anything we can give you advice or looking for places around you, we can be able to help you. And also I did send you a note the other day. I was in West Virginia and swearing in, couldn't be there. When I saw that over the weekend, I said, because I usually try to be there. And thank council again, and Sally's pushing, and Emily, that we're actually seeing this ballpark. Since I've been here for the last 5 years, I've always heard about it. Now it's actually becoming a reality here. It's pretty close. I mean, they're starting to see a lot of work happening out there. I think it's a good thing for the town of Troutman to actually be able to play baseball, softball here in our hometown.
Other comment?
I'd like to echo what other council people have said about your choice for our new police officer. Outstanding credentials. I too, sorry that I was not able to attend the class on Monday morning. I hope that I'll be able to make it next week. That's when we have to hire another officer. I look forward to meeting him personally and getting to know all of the officers better. Second, Mr. Grusbeck, welcome. Look forward to working with you in the months and years to come. We look hoping for great things to come from your office and your guidance. So thank you and welcome.
If I may, sir, I just want to kind of continue with George's comment about the park. I appreciate the services of Emily as we continue to enhance the park amenities. I can remember when it was just a piece of ground, and every year we try to do at least one nice thing, and we keep enhancing, the pavilion, the splash pad, which was, and now we're talking the ballpark. I look forward to the next nice project where, we have got, and we have it now, but to continue to have a first-rate that attracts people, be they town citizens or outside of town, to attract all people. That it's a go-to place and premier, and so I'm glad that we're able to and are continuing to enhance our park. Just going back to thank you, sir, for being here. Look forward to working with you, sir.
I've got a couple items before we depart. First of all, there was a public comment, I believe, regarding the park master plan. Ms. Williams, any thought on maybe redoing that master plan? Is it due, or any feedback you might be able to share?
Well, according to our original master plan, and then it was updated, I think other than the amphitheater, which we decided to put that on hold because we're not sure what the county and the commissioners are gonna do with the fairgrounds, if they're gonna put one there. We didn't want to put one here and be in such close proximity. So the ball fields was in our final phase, and the parking lot, and then we'll get a small pavilion with restrooms down at that end. And that just about takes up all the space that we have. But with the ball fields have already been started, I'm sure Emily will get a park committee meeting shortly, and I'll bring that to her attention.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I do please pass on to Emily the great work she's continuing to do for our park and rec. I don't imagine that when she started, no matter what we've asked her to do, that she could imagine having to do it, and she's done it with grace and very effectively. So please send her our regards. The next item that I did want to bring up is our parade, which we discussed for August 15th. I've heard from some of you, as I stated on Monday, I believe the county has decided to forego this year's fair. I'd like to hear of the council how we want to proceed based on the recommendation from staff and what you heard regarding the parade and fireworks.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think you kind of said the right statement Monday night when you said we didn't want to have that parade. Then 2 days later, with school starting, people go back and blame us for causing another rash of instances of virus contamination. So I think that says it all. We need to cancel it.
Other thoughts, comments?
Unfortunately for the safety of our citizens and our community, we're forced to do this. It's something regrettable. We don't like to plan events. It seems like that's all we do is cancel events. But as Councilman Harris said, unfortunately for our health of our citizens and our residents, we have to cancel and look forward to better days.
The feedback that I've heard from citizens is exactly what these two gentlemen have said. They're concerned about folks that may participate in the parade or attend the parade and fireworks, and they think that the timing is bad with or without the COVID-19. The 2 days before school started, the last weekend, that families can go out and do something together besides go to a parade. And their recommendations that I've been hearing around town is cancel. And I support cancellation of it for the health reasons.
According to Emily's email response, I think we are approximately 4 weeks away from that date, and there's only 15 entrants, and I think we said we needed 50. So it looks like there's not going to be that much people interested in it, so I guess council.
Yeah, I agree. As I expressed before, when the email first came out, even the fireworks, would still lead people to, I'm sure, just out of habit, violate the social distancing and so forth. And I think we've seen that not everybody's going to wear a mask no matter what. And as George stated, 2 days before school, and I want to be the last one to hear that people are pointing fingers at us saying, my child or whomever got sick because of this. Troutman's Park. That would be the furthest thing I want to happen to anybody, and us be at fault of it. So I agree that, as Eddie said, let's just look for better days, cancel, and hopefully by next year at this time, if not sooner, we'll be able to get back to some of the rules.
I don't know that we need a motion on this. However, I'm open to entertain a motion from someone to state that we would cancel the parade.
I'll make a motion, we cancel the August 15th parade and fireworks.
The motion's on the floor that we cancel this year's would have been 4th of July parade and fireworks. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made, receive a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
In opposition? Hearing none. I would like to send a letter to Mr. Chuck Gallion and the Troutman Terrifics because they always come through and they put in a ton of work on our behalf. I do and have heard from some citizens they will miss the parade. I've even had some elected officials reach out to me asking if we were still hosting it. And I agree with council regrettably, probably not the best time, given we are still at a stay-at-home order, and we're not sure what that might look like in the coming weeks. From a planning perspective, it will be difficult for the staff to make appropriate arrangements. So with that, we'll get a letter to Mr. Gallion, thanking him and the team. Hopefully, maybe between now and the Christmas parade, we might be able to get that in. So don't want to give up just yet on that parade for 2020. So we're looking forward to better days.
So comment on a reminder that during our budget discussions, we, I think, agreed that if this parade didn't take place in August, that we would push the fireworks out to New Year's.
That's right.
So something, to look forward to, and hopes that we would be able to go forward at that time without fear of further contamination.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. We are looking forward to hopefully a New Year's celebration, which basically would be may end up being a new opportunity for the town to celebrate. So we'll see how that goes.
Better watch out, start new precedent here. That's right. It's a good idea, but it's a good precedent.
The next thing I want to mention is, of course, the staff has not gone without potential COVID impacts. I appreciate the leadership of the staff, not just while we haven't had a manager and an interim manager here, but you've done a great job. Please give my regards to the whole team, and I think our staff really has led very well, and department heads have done a great job of helping out and making sure things keep going for the town. Corey is here as our chief information officer tonight, in addition to his day job. So thanks for making sure that we got this off and going tonight. So I really appreciate it. It doesn't go unnoticed. One thing that we talked about Monday night is we've got new system in place, hopefully to continue streaming live for folks. We'll continue to accept feedback on how this went and try to improve it as best we can, given the current circumstances. Appreciate folks' patience as we continue to try to provide a public visibility to what's going on in your town. That's all I have. Anything else from staff? Yeah, Mr. Bruceback, we can't wait to have you here.
Yeah, see you on Monday.
Look forward to having you part of the team. I think folks are excited about it, so we really appreciate you showing up tonight as well and taking time away from your family to be here with us. So, thank you. With that, I'll move to our last item on the agenda.
I make much with your.
Heard that. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, seats second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposition, carried none. Motion passes. Awesome. Thank you.